remember how we talked about this idea about mass psychosis and why it is that like somebody who's rich or powerful, typically rich, no one will ever tell these people the truth. No one will ever just straight tell them, you know, like, hey, I think that what you're doing is a bad idea and it's very destructive. Why is it that so many people can get away with that and they just go along with all of it? Well, it's because they want the money, right? They're like, they don't really care how dangerous the person who's rich is. They don't care about that. They just want to be paid themselves, and they may not even like that person, but they'll continue to go along with it. This is, once again, if you recall my analogy of the Michael Jackson effect, right? Nobody apparently had the guts to tell Michael, hey, listen, man, I mean, even if there's nothing going on with you and these kids, it doesn't look right to have a 35-year-old man, you know, at 10 o'clock at night jumping up and down on the bed with a bunch of kids. That seems a little odd. Even if it's totally innocent, that's still really odd and it looks bad. No one would ever tell them the truth. Well, it's the same thing with what's going on right now. Anybody who's rich and or powerful or controls the paycheck, no one's ever going to question that. This is where you get these juiced up retards that are cops, okay, you know, raiding a house for a squirrel. I'm not picking on this whole squirrel thing again, you know, too much, but I mean, like, if the, you know, like, this is something that seems to be getting people to wake their minds up a little bit and start realizing, like, yeah, hey, this is pretty bad, isn't it? Yeah, those guys do what they do because they, you know, who do they work for? Who do the police work for? Who does the military work for? They work for whoever signs their paycheck. That's it. They don't work for the American people. They don't work for the people of that district or anything, or the county or whatever. They don't work for you. Right? Oh, they work for you. They love to virtue signal. Oh, I'm your servant and everything. Public service, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. No. They work for whoever gives them the biggest check. In other words, whoever the highest bidder is. That's who they work for. So if you've got some rich guy or a government with endless deep pockets that can print money out of nothing is offering these people, hey, we'll give you a bunch of money to just obey all these ridiculous orders, these highly stupid orders, they'll do it. There is nothing, like I said before, there is nothing these people won't do. You could bring back prima nocta and these people will enforce it. Guaranteed. You will find guys who will do something like that. So this is where you are. This is the truth of where all of your people are, all of your government officials and all these other people that'll go along with it. This is where you actually are. This is where you stand. There is nothing that they can't buy at this point because they can conjure dollars from nothing. And because you've got people who don't own anything. They owe everything. You have a bunch of people who work for you who are hugely in debt, and you're willing to let them out of it by giving them a bunch of fake dollars that you print out of nothing if they just keep obeying these orders. And this is how this works too. It's like, oh, well, you know, hey, where's my line in the sand, right? And then, you know, so you draw a line in the sand. You say, hey, I'm not going to go any further. This is it. I'm not going to obey any orders. But then they entice you a little bit further, and they're like, well, and you're like, okay, well, I guess I could go a little bit further with this. You see where this is going, and eventually, and before you know it, you look back and you can't even tell where you started from. Yeah, that's how this works. In schools, let me shift gears slightly, but this is part of the deal. In schools, you are tested for this. You're not going to like this, but everybody out there who tries to ace all those tests, that's you proving that they can get you to go a little further. Every time you ace those tests, every time you get a 4.0, this is the truth, kids, right? If you could send this video back to yourself when you were a kid, you'd find that they'd kick everybody out of schools. Yeah, it would be the best thing that could happen to you, okay? They'd have to change things because now you're no longer trainable, okay? So every time you move a little bit further and keep achieving this next goal, this next goal, this next goal, this next goal that they keep setting out for you, you're just proving that you're willing to go that much further. And before you know it, you'll look back and go, how the hell did I even get here? Yeah, it's because you kept going along with their system rather than pulling back and saying, hold on a second here, like, this is stupid. What are we doing with this? There are some young people that are starting to see this now, except they're doing it the wrong way. They're saying, why am I working 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day? This is ridiculous. Well, you will always work. Sorry, but this is the truth. You will always work. The question is, are you going to work for somebody else or work for yourself? Now, if you work for yourself, right, then that means you keep what you make. Right? If you work for somebody else, then they're going to take a chunk of it, right? That's how this works. That's how the game is played. Okay? So you can do either one, and I'm not judging either side. I'm just pointing out that's reality. Okay? So, well, how do I work for myself if there's government this and government that, regulations and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this is why the solution isn't more government. You understand? Like, this is why the solution isn't more government. The solution is less government. Like, well, but then who will regulate all these big companies? This is why you have a hard currency. Big companies can't survive in a hard currency environment. They just can't. They can't. They go broke very quickly because the smaller companies can outcompete them. And especially if you also have very tiny government, then there's no agencies to get to back these big companies up, right? So there you go.